let's go ahead and get into my spoiler review for Joker Folie Deux, or Joker Folie Duty, or, whatever other name you want to call it. Yeah, Omelette du Fromage, that's what I've been calling it. So I recently did my review for this film this past Friday. I encourage you guys to check out that review if not already done so. It's up on my YouTube channel. Also did Odd Theater Reaction. And, just briefly go over it again. The movie is terrible. The movie is very disappointing. I mean, if I were to be somewhat positive, I feel like Joaquin Phoenix is good, even though he's just repeating the same things he did in the previous film. They literally take Joker, Arthur Fleck, back to, square one again. And we're just seeing that barely any of, the Joker that we got at the end of Joker 2019. It is well shot. There is some good cinematography, lighting. There's some great production design, no question. The score is good. But outside of that, I think the movie's a mess. The story is muddled and poorly paced. The musical numbers, all of them, are nonsensical and unnecessary and are just distracting, that literally take away from the film. They're just there to be there. And the ending, the last third of this movie, is incredibly disappointing. And it's interesting. It's like Todd Phillips made a movie that would not only upset huge fans of the first one. I liked the movie. I didn't love it, but I really liked it. I have my criticisms of it. But it's like the third act, and just the movie in general, I think it's made to upset people who disliked who loved and liked the first film, but also those who disliked it too. So in a way, I will give him this. He did unite everyone in disliking the movie. But yeah, it's just such a mess of a film. And, getting into the spoilers, there's not a lot to spoil in this movie for the first 2/3, because it's kind of splitting into two things. It's all the Arkham stuff and then the trial, which the idea of, both ideas sound cool. Let's do an Arkham Asylum movie. What's life like in Arkham, from the Joker's point of view, all that. That's a cool idea on paper. Also, what's cool on paper is the idea of the Joker on trial. That's kind of interesting. That's a different, take on a Joker story or a DC story. It's okay, that's cool. And also just the mad love story of it all, chat. The relationship, the infamous but fascinating relationship, romance between the Joker and Harley Quinn. That's really cool too. All these things are interesting. It's just none of them are executed well at all. And I guess that's where I want to start, is with the Joker and Harley Quinn of it all, the mad love of it all. Of course, that original story, which was created by, Paul Dini and Bruce Timm, which started as a comic. It was set in the continuity of Batman the Animated Series, expanded on Harley Quinn of not just being a henchwoman, but, making her originally the therapist of the Joker, her falling in love with him, her falling prey to his manipulations and everything, right? It's a fantastic story. And eventually they adapted it into the animated series, and that is one of the best, most revered episodes of Batman series. Mad Love. I think it's actually the final episode of the third season, and really all of Batman animated series in general. And I recommend it. It's incredible. This one, I couldn't even say it's the Cliff Notes version of it. It's just taking someone who is barely the Joker and someone who is barely Harley Quinn, and creating a sort of romance between them. Not really, more so just an obsession, and just filling it with a lot of unnecessary musical and dance numbers, right? So in the movie, we come to meet Lady Gaga's Harley Quinn, or Lee as she's mostly called. And again, she's criminally underused in this film. They only got her to do singing and dancing. And listen, Lady Gaga is obviously a very talented singer and musician and composer. There's no question about it. But I think she's, is a good actor. I really liked her in A Star Is Born. But here, they underuse her, throughout the entire movie. And in the film, she's revealed to be someone who is just a fanatic, a Joker fanatic, who checks herself into Arkham Asylum with the intended purpose of pretty much meeting her idol. She ingratiates herself to Arthur. They sing, they dance, and do all that. She encourages him to stop taking his meds, which further encourages his, fall into madness and despair, kind of, hoping to, I guess in a way, have him regain his mojo, because he's not really the Joker in the beginning of the movie, only I would say a couple times throughout the film. But then, like, once like the trial gets underway, and Harley Quinn kind of gets like all of Gotham like motivated into this like Joker frenzy. Arthur Fleck kind of realizes, like, I don't really want to be the Joker anymore. I don't really like this. He's literally being confronted by like all the things that he did in the first film, because that's what so much of the trial is just relegating what happened before, right? And while that's happening and him getting sadder and sadder and sadder, and him being less and less Joker-like all of Gotham is like, fuck yeah, Joker, like all that, right? And then it kind of all culminates in I think what they intended to be like a disturbing scene, but I think it's just really funny, where all the guards are like, God, we hate the Joker. Let's just sexually assault the Joker. Let's just rape the Joker out of him. And where Brendan Gleeson and all the guards just pretty much have their way with Arthur Fleck. Get his rags off. I think that's what they say. Get his clothes off. They get his rags off. And they beat him. And they rape him. They rape him to the point where he doesn't want to be the Joker anymore. That's pretty much what happens. And then he eventually goes back to trial and he admits, like, you know what, there never really was a Joker, And he admits it was just me. And that the whole idea that he had dissociative personality disorder, that he had a split personality, that like his lawyer was arguing. By that point in the film, he's like his own lawyer at that point, just monologuing his ass off and doing stuff like that, taking questions, questioning other people. He just admits to all of it. And they're like, you're sentenced, you're all that. But then there's a huge explosion at the courthouse where the trial is being held, this televised trial. And it's like a car bomb, which I don't know if Harley Quinn set it up. I'm not really sure. But then Harley Quinn hears all this, and so she's distraught because he basically is abandoning the Joker persona and saying that's not him. And so that disenfranchises her, disenfranchises all the Joker wannabes outside. But a car bomb goes off, and it's so funny. So Harvey Dent's introduced in the movie, and he looks like a baby. Listen, no offense to the actor. I think his name is like Harry Lottie. But he looks like two kids stacked, like two 8-year-olds stacked on top of each other wearing a raincoat. I'm like, I can't. Baby-faced Two-Face, chap. He actually ends up getting like fucked up. So it's like, Two-Face origin kind of, even though they spend no time developing his character whatsoever. Because every single character in this movie is incredibly one-dimensional. Including Two-Face, funny enough. What are you thinking? Like, well, at least Two-Face will at least be two-dimensional. No, he's one-dimensional. And so then at this point, the thing that's confusing is like, you don't even know if is this really happening? Because the movie constantly goes back and forth. Is like, is this a hallucination or is this not? And it seems to even forget like its own continuity because they're referencing things that like a character will reference something that like, didn't that happen in a hallucination or was that real? You don't again, it's muddled. I keep going back to this. It's very muddled. Anyway, he escapes. And he encounters all these Jokers. He goes back to his apartment where he encounters Harley Quinn. And she had, basically tried to resurrect the Joker out of him for all this time. They fucked one time. She said that, hey, I'm knocked up. We got a little Joker baby in my tummy. He's like, whoa, can't wait. And he's just like, you know what? I don't really want to be the Joker anymore. I just want to be with you. And she's like, you fucking suck, Arthur. You fucking suck. I thought you were the Joker. You're nothing. And guess what? I lied about being pregnant. It was all a lie. And he's like, no. And he's sad. And he eventually leaves. And then he gets arrested again. And then he's sent back to Arkham. And then we get to probably one of the biggest controversial moments of the movie. So throughout the film, occasionally, like the camera will just suddenly pan over to this creepy guy who's just like, just doing stuff in the background. Arthur's like, what the fuck's that guy's problem, right? Well, that guy pops up again at the end of the film. And this guy wants to talk to Arthur. And Arthur's like, all right, what? And he's like, I want to tell you a joke. And he's like, okay. And so the guy is telling him this joke, but unfortunately he doesn't get to the punchline because the inmate just starts to fucking shank the shit out of Arthur. Just stabs him like, 6 times like in the gut. He falls down, bleeding to death, like dying. And we see like the guy take the shiv, the knife, whatever it is, the pokey thing, and he carves the smile into his face, that Glasgow smile that Heath Ledger's Joker had, which some people are saying, like, guys, it's not Heath Ledger. Everyone's saying, like, that's the Heath Ledger. No, it's not. It's not, okay? The continuity, it wouldn't make sense. Okay, this is set in, like, 1981. It's not, it can't be, guys. It's like, oh, God. It's like, people are like, it's connected. It's not connected. And so... basically, it's that, okay, the Joker that we thought we knew was never the Joker. Instead, it's like, the whole premise of the movie is Arthur basically saying the city, Gotham itself, put the Joker facade on top of me, right? And they think that's what I am. I think that's what defines me. It's like my shadow. Like, there's a whole cartoon, like some people have mentioned, there's a whole cartoon at the beginning of the movie where they kind of reference the Arthur and his shadow, which is the Joker. And in this case, his shadow is his legacy. It's the inspiration. And the inspiration is with this character, this random guy who we are led to believe becomes the Joker of this world, I guess. And he becomes, I guess, the Joker, and then Arthur, he just fucking dies. He dies, and that's it. And that's the end of the movie. Like, there's really not much else to spoil. Like, that's the biggest things in the film, I would argue, because all the rest of it is just, it's them replicating things we've already seen before. It's just, the whole Arthur story is told again, just worse. Lady Gaga is simply there to sing and dance, and while she's good at those things, there's no dimensions to her Harley Quinn at all, which makes it very, very frustrating. But like the whole movie, it just felt like it felt like Todd Phillips was almost saying, like, this character, this version of the Joker was never meant to be like the Joker, he would never was, which is like, I feel like you're kind of then completely you're negating. I go back to this, like in my original review, you're negating the entire first movie where, even though it's very different, it's a different take on the Joker. It's an interpretation of him, but it's taking this man who then grows into that role, who becomes the Joker that we somewhat recognize, right? And this movie is just like, no, he never was that to begin with. And we just started at stage one again, at ground zero, level one, and he's pretty much that way the whole time, except occasionally there's a few blips where he becomes Joker-esque when Harley kind of manipulates him. But by the end of the movie, he completely forgoes the Joker personality. It's just like, nope, not me. And someone else takes it up and literally stabs him to death, and that guy's the Joker. And so it kind of just makes both movies, it does the worst thing. It does the worst thing is that it takes away from the original film. It negates things. It also ignores things. It retcons certain things. Because even in the trial, they say he's on trial for 5 murders, including his mother. He admits to, like, killing his mother. But then they never bring up the doctor at the end of the first film that he obviously murdered. And so it's either them like, okay, we have to ignore that because it would make everything that we're saying look stupid, which it does. Well, I guess they just kind of retcon it in a way. And again, it's just the fact that I have to like answer these questions or pose these questions just show it proves how muddled and terrible the storytelling of this movie is. It just fails. But yeah, guys, other than that, there's really not to spoil. And then everything else is it's them doing the same shit over and over again. Or it's just like another uninspired, unnecessary, and distracting musical number of it's a cover song or something, jukebox musical. It's so unnecessary, but yeah, it's a waste of time. It's a waste of time. And even though I can point to maybe a couple things, I was like, that was good, technical things, right? Overall, this is a bad movie. It's a bad story.
5 minutes later.
Well, is there anything else you guys want to talk about the movie? I just thought of doing like a brief spoiler review. I don't know if there's anything else. I think that's it. Nothing else stands out. He's, him and Harley Quinn, they shtup. She says, I'm preggo. The guards literally rape him. He's like, I don't want to be raped anymore. I want to be the Joker. I mean, I understand that. He's like, I don't want to be raped anymore. So I don't want to be the Joker. He gives all that up, and then he gets shanked. That's pretty much it. But someone else wants to bring something else up. Please let me do. What? The trial could have made for a good movie. Yeah, like on paper, like all these ideas are interesting. Like this could be a good movie or a good story to tell. Like the Mad Love story, absolutely. I feel like that would be a cool movie. Do Mad Love. right? Where Batman's just a supporting character, where Joker and Harley Quinn are the main leads. That'd be fucking awesome. Do an expanded version of Bruce Timm and Paul Dini's Mad Love. Fucking great. It's right. The material's right there. Number one. Arkham Asylum movie, I think, is a great idea. There's a lot you could do with that. And yeah, the Trial of the Joker, I agree. The musical, if that was their only focus, may have worked. The Harley Joker movie could have worked if that's what they wanted. The commentary on incels, toxic fans could have worked if it was its own movie. Or mind slop. Oh, terribly sloppy. Nothing is thought all the way through. It's like these ideas are thrown out and then they're not picked up afterwards, and they don't get to the finish line with them at all. It gets shanked before them. Harvey had zero reason to be here. It could have been any lawyer. Yeah, I know. And you know what? It's just like, he's a lawyer. He's a DA. Put him in there. You know? And it's like, there's so much you could have done with like Harvey in this movie. That would have been really interesting. Maybe dealing with his own mental illness. It's nothing. Maybe the punchline is maybe it is. That's the joke. We just didn't get it. It's Jared Leto. Oh, God. Do families just know how to do math anymore? Do families just know how to do it? What do you mean? Oh, well, it's not fanboys. It's the filmmakers. the filmmakers are not counting like certain murders the Joker does. Like the psychiatrist at the end of the first film is not included. And so it's either the movie... Either they're just willfully ignoring that, or they're retconning it, but they don't establish if it happened or not. So you're just like, what? And so it's very confusing. The fanboys, like all the fans, all the critics and stuff, have pointed this out and be like, wait a minute, this doesn't make any sense. So they're in the right. It's the filmmakers who are in the wrong. Either the Joker would be like 70, he would be like 70 years old. Yeah, it wouldn't make any sense. It was Mephisto all along. Were people mad at the end? Yeah, my echo, my shadow, and me. Yeah. Yep. Him not being the real Joker would be an interesting take if it's set up. Yeah, set up the actual Joker. Yeah, and that's the thing is like, I mean, that's a hell of a task to do. I'm not against that idea, but they don't do a good job of even of doing that. That's the problem. It's like you could have like, because even like the Joker has like, or Arthur has like a fucking hang-on guy in the movie. But yeah, they just kind of occasionally just kind of point the camera towards the guy. He's going, I was like, oh, sure. I don't know what that guy's problem is. He's the Joker. I think I knew the fit guy would be because I knew he killed his mom's coworker, De Niro, and I guess the doctor I'm missing. They don't even count the doctor. So like the script was slapdash. You're talking the three guys in the subway he murders. So he's on trial for murdering the three subway guys. He's on trial for killing Murray, the De Niro's character, and he's on trial for killing his coworker. And he reveals that I also killed my mother. I smothered her. The thing is, he also killed a psychiatrist in the end of the movie, so he should be on trial for 7 murders. So everyone is correct in their math. That the person who's wrong is the filmmakers, is Todd Phillips. And so it doesn't make any sense. I think the script was slapdash together because they wanted to make a sequel, not because they understand it. Yeah. Let's see here. What was the best song? Honestly, like none of them. You know what was good? The score. I'll give it's the same person who did the score for the first film. Hildur Guntantentier. It's a German ass name, chat. They're gonna die. Hildur Frankenstein. The score is good. The thing is, like all the cover, they blend together. You don't even remember any of them. This is like, oh my God, can we just move on to something else? Like the regular score for the movie is actually quite good, but the cover songs is like, and I wouldn't even know them. you know me with music. Keep beating. I'm just waiting on the Batman Part 2. Matt Reeves, please love it. Yeah, I feel like he will. Watch The Penguin. Highly recommend The Penguin. The Penguin is great. Katria Hands, thank you so much. Happy Dino Dances, 13 months subscribed. Thank you, Katria. Over a year. I'm incredible support. Oh, she has more than 5 people. Okay, I remember the douchebags. Yeah, you gotta count those guys. No, the people who think that Heath Ledger at the end. Simple math proves that literally. Oh, gotcha. Yeah, I don't even think people like believe that's Ledger. It's just like what fan videos have been doing. You know, it's like, do you know this connects? It's like one of those things. Maybe some dum-dums think that, but I think most people, like, they have the what's the word I'm looking for? The common sense to know. Let's see. At the end of the movie, I also forgot where this was set. Oh, man, thank you. I brought that up in my review. They constantly go back and forth. It's not like, because people are saying like, no. They say it's the New York. It's New York versus the state of excuse me. It's the state of New York versus Arthur Fleck, and it's like, okay, that's fine that they choose to set this Gotham in New York. You know, then they've done that. Like Gotham has been New York, it's been New Jersey, it's been Connecticut a couple times, it's been Chicago. But this one is weird. It's like, it's fine it's set in New York, but then they occasionally like refer to New York like it's the city. Like it's New York City. It's like, what? And I don't think they weren't consistent with it. And so it was very, very distracting. Very, very distracting. Let's see here. The thing is, what was I going to say? The ending of the movie also, yep. You're right, Bishop. An actual Harley origin story could work. A bright-eyed, new graduate doctor, Harley Quinn's trying to survive her daily work day at Arkham and how she was corrupt. 100%. I think a Mad Love story would be fascinating. I don't know if it would be this Joker. I mean, they could have done it with this Joker, maybe. Maybe the show is Evolution. That would be kind of fascinating. If they want to go down that road, they could have. Like, all the ideas on paper sound great. Like, a Mad Love adaptation, I think, would be wonderful. Trial of the Joker is interesting, or an Arkham movie. Cool. I'm all for it. It's just, they just don't do a good job of any of them. Besides maybe some technical aspects. With Todd Phillips making the transition from comedy director to making more serious films, how would you feel if other directors like Judd Apatow made a similar transition? That's fine. If they want to try it, I got nothing. I'm not a Judd Apatow fan. You know, I haven't really cared for any of his work. I like Funny People, though. Funny People, it's funny, that was the movie that one of his that did not do very well, but I actually ended up liking that film. Like, I'm not a knocked up guy. I'm not a 40-year-old virgin guy. But I mean, if he wants to, I always respect when a director wants to try different genres. I think that's totally cool. Like Ryan Coogler, most recently, he's doing his first horror movie with that Singers film, which I'm super excited for. I'm totally cool with that. I'm jazzed for it. So if he wants to, I mean, I'm not the biggest fan, but it's like, hey, he's doing something different. I'll give it a shot. I'll give it a chance, just like I did with the, Joker. Just like I did with this movie, but it just didn't work out this time. About the one girl he thought was his girlfriend in the first movie, was she established that he did not? Yeah, she's in the movie. She's alive. She's fine. Zazie Beetz. Yeah, but it's funny. Everyone thought she died. I never read it that way. I always thought she lived. But a lot of people thought she was killed. But no, she's alive. She's fine. As fine as you can be, I suppose. Luke Boss, when Lady Gaga broke the glass to get the TV, that did feel like a Harley Quinn moment. It's a moment within a 2+ hour film. And the problem is that there's not enough of those moments in the movie, right? It's like, yeah, that's a Harley Quinn-esque moment, but it's not enough. Like, and I don't think it's her fault. I'm not blaming Lady Gaga because I know she's talented. I think we all know that. It's how she's directed, what it was written for, was just not there for her. When she was initially cast, when it was announced, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, that was good. I think we were like, oh, that could be good. It's not her fault. It was just poorly done. Poorly done. Did you know that The Dark Knight and Joker 2 both have Joker cameos? That's funny. Did you know? One of my shorts. Sometimes opposite Metropolis, which is driving. I hate that, by the way, which is also driving distance from Smallville. I hate both those things, Trini. I agree. I don't like. That's why I also didn't like in the DCU. They established that Metropolis and Gotham are sister cities. Don't fucking do that. It just drives me crazy. They need to be separated. They need to be separated. That's why I like the idea of like Gotham typically being set in Chicago. I think that's fine. And then Metropolis is like the New York City of DC or whatever. Is Gotham the new sixth borough of New York City? It might be. I mean, honestly, if they established that, I'd be like, okay. But they just don't. But for all I know, it could have been. It could be in the movie. Let's see. If this was its own thing, had no ties to Joker or Batman, do you think it would make for a better film? No. It's hard to separate that because like it's so we're removing the Joker out of it. No, because the things that would still hurt the movie in the end, like okay, even if like the first film was, just Taxi Driver, which it kind of is. This is a ripoff of Taxi Driver, so it's just Taxi Driver 2019, right? Okay. It is then followed up with this movie. It still suffers from the same problems of all the characters other than the Joker are one-dimensional. It still has that issue. The musical numbers, none of them lend to the story or the characters themselves. They don't inform them in any capacity. They're unnecessary. And the third act still negates, like, whatever that guy becomes in the end. Maybe he's not the Joker. Maybe he's whatever. He's Schmeckelbob, right? He's like, we thought you were Schmeckelbob. He's like, I'm not Schmeckelbob. Schmeckelbob was never me. It was Arthur Fleck. Fuck you, Arthur. It's the same thing. And then you still have the ending where it's like, I'm now Schmeckelbob. Like that. It still has the same issues. It still has the same issues. I guess they wouldn't have like the weird, because then even the continuity would still be messed up with how many people he killed as Schmeckelbob. Still have problems. So, yeah. Oh, let's see here. I like Trainwreck. I like King of Staten Island. I like those movies. Yeah, that's true. I always think of like his his comedies. Those are more like dramedies to me. Let's give a service final proof that maybe Todd Phillips just isn't very good with sequels. Oh, yeah, everyone's saying that. I agree. Oh, yeah, sure. I wish she was getting more. She just wasn't. Joe Van esque movie with the Joker trial. It could have been cool. Like a great idea. Gotham could also be Detroit. Yeah, it would be Detroit too. Yeah. But Metropolis and Kansas and Gotham in Illinois. Matt Cannon is Gotham is where Chicago is. Metropolis is where Cleveland is. Interesting. I don't mind that. I can get on board with that. The base concept of the movie just sounds fundamentally broken. It has nothing to do with the fact that it's set in DC. Just because it's like DC and Joker, that's not what's wrong with the movie. It's not that. It's literally, it's just not very well made. That's the problem. It doesn't even matter that it's like a DC film. Even if it was even the first movie was not the Joker, it was whatever, Schmeckelbob. And then the next one was Schmeckelbob 2, Folie, Deux. It would still have the same problem, And I think the reason why people were just so excited to see it because it was like, oh, it was an R-rated Joker movie. It's like, oh, that's fucking cool. And that's why it had so much hype around it and excitement and infamy and controversy, right? Even though that was all bullshit with the media sensationalizing it. Yeah, it's just. I mean, it comes down to it, guys. It's just a bad movie. It's a bad story with some poor creative choices that don't help the story, that just hinder it even more. I could point to things that are good about it on a technical level. Well, even Joaquin Phoenix, I think he's doing a good job. He's just doing the same thing again. It's more of the same thing. You're just taking the character back to fucking stage one. It's like, I've seen this. I think would have made it more interesting. Even with the music, it was they had like an hour of material of this movie, really. But even with all the musical stuff, like, it would have made it more interesting is if he was in, like, the Joker was, like, him at the get-go. Like, immediately, like, that's the guy right there. Like, he's never stopped being the Joker since the events at the end of the first film. Like, him fucking just presenting himself in front of God. Everyone's like, everyone's going crazy. And like, him killing the psychiatrist. He's just like, I understand. He's like, I guess, you just didn't get... Oh, what's the final line? What's the final line where he's just like, oh, what's so fun? He's like, he just wouldn't get it. And I like that, like the thing that he's thinking about is the death of Bruce Wayne's parents. He's just like, he's thinking how funny it is. Because it's like, oh, it leads to him being the Joker of that world. Eventually, you can see him confronting like that version of whatever fucking Batman would be in this dark world, But they they just don't do that. You wouldn't get it. Yeah. And I guess that's what it is. We just didn't get the movie that Todd set out to make. I don't think he got it either. But yeah, and at the end, it's a bad film. It's crazy how like this movie is going to be like one of the biggest box office bombs of the year. The original film where it wasn't universally loved, but it does have a lot of fans. It was the highest grossing R-rated film of all time. I think Deadpool and Wolverine surpassed it, but one of the highest grossing R-rated films, the second highest grossing R-rated film of all time. Numerous accolades, nominated, winning, and now following up with a sequel that is nearly universally panned. Critics rejected it. Ein's rejected it. It's going to be a box office bomb. Like, the drop-off this week's going to be tremendous. If it's posting Morbius numbers, then. Yeah. But even then, there just wasn't a lot of excitement for this film. Like, even with those trailers, like, people were going like, all right, like, visually there's some cool stuff. But even then, I just didn't feel like there was that. And the other thing is the fact that they were hiding the fact it was a musical. Like, I went to my screening chat and people were walking out, probably because after the first few musicals, people were like, I didn't know this. Like, they didn't know. They literally didn't know. Because I got in some comments on my review. It's like, it was well known it was musical. It's like, no, it wasn't. It was not. They were hiding in all the marketing. People didn't find out until either they went to the theater or maybe like the week of. They were like, what? And that hurt it. And it goes back to this, like, if you knew that people were not going to like that, then why fucking do it to begin with? That's the other thing that I don't understand. It's like, if you didn't even have confidence in that, then why choose to do it? I mean, the only answer that I can think of is that they gave Todd Phillips carte blanche. They gave him carte blanche because of the success of the last film. And they're like, all right, do whatever you want to do. And that's the only explanation that I could think of. Maybe there's something else, but usually the answer is typically the simplest one. And it's just that, like, well, he made us so much money, let him do what he wants to do, and, well, yeah. That's what we got. Oh, yeah, and Andre, that's my one good memory, where the first musical number started, and my honest was, like, there was a notable just, like, murmuring in the theater, and then that Andre, my friend, he doesn't know it, but I'm his friend. Andre's just like, this is a musical? Oh, Andre doesn't do musical. And he left after, I think, like the third one. He's like, I'm done. I didn't blame him. I wanted to leave with him. He was brave enough to leave. He's like, I want to spend my Friday morning enjoying myself. And I think he did it. I think he did afterwards. And Lily, thank you so much to Liberties too. I'm glad you like that story. That's my favorite part of it. Andre don't do musical. There'd be a way too online, like all of us. Yeah, no, and that's the thing. It goes back to, like, we are in a bubble. We are in a very small bubble, and, like, we love movies. We love talking about movies, whether they be good, bad, anywhere in between. We love having passionate conversations, but we need to remember that we are not the majority. We're not mainstream audiences. And so, like, when it comes to movies, they're just going by what they see on TV. They're just going by what they see when they go to the theater, those trailers. They're not looking it up like us. They're not reading articles about it, or few and far between when it comes to those people. So, yeah. For me, it was them flip-flopping of whether it was musical. That's the other thing. Like, Todd Phillips, I've seen him in interviews. He's fucking weird. He's, like, super socially awkward, and he's kind of mean. Like, I know he's kind of a little bit mean. He's got an attitude. And I just noticed him just act just odd. And, yeah, the fact he's like, well, it's not musical. It's like, no, it's a fucking musical, dude. Like, I saw the movie. It was very bizarre. Very bizarre. Oh, yeah, it was part of my review. Yeah. No, Andre, when I was just finishing my review, I went back. I was like, I had to tell you this story. That's what happened in my theater. I put it at the start of my YouTube review. So check it out. Check out the full story. It's pretty funny. Andre knows what Andre likes. He clearly, I'm not criticizing him in any capacity. So it's like Sweeney Todd over again. Mine's a good movie. Yeah, I guess that's the thing, because people were saying, like, people were walking out of Sweeney Todd when they found it was a musical. I like Sweeney Todd. I think it's a good musical, but that's just me. That's me. That's one I recommend. Yeah, because I'm not like one of those guys where it's like, musical. I gotta be in the right headspace, I think, for one. It's like, let me be in the right headspace. And that one, I was ready to see a dark gothic musical, and I fucking got it. This movie, and I go back to this, like, musicals in general, and the best musicals, but just musicals in general. The songs inform and tell the story of the characters, right? It provides them with their characterization, and it propels the plot forward. I feel like that's what all musicals typically do. I'm sure there's some exceptions. Clearly, Joker Folie do is. But, like, none of the songs in the movie push the movie forward. It's just like, we're going to have a song number, even though we were just in the middle of a fucking conversation. Oh, Christ. Apparently, Todd Phillips was hiding out on a rancher weekend and was refusing to take calls. Oh, I bet. Got a feeling he knew it was going to be shit. Yeah, he knew. So, yeah, you guys were also telling me that apparently, like, at the premiere or something, like, Joaquin Phoenix, like, they had lip readers or something. And I think when he whispered to Lady Gaga, like, the movie is shit. I think that's funny. Even he knew. Oh, hey, appreciate the honesty. Wow, not surprised. Yeah, the thing is, like, this is the kind of flop that's, I mean, man, he had the whole world open for him, too, after the first one, because he didn't do anything in between the first Joker in this, right? I don't think so. If he did, let me know. But this is the kind of movie where it affects your career, because it's such a fucking flop, and it's so hated, not just by critics, but by audiences, too. And man, it's going to be very interesting. I'm sure it'll get work again, obviously, but it won't be something on this scale ever again. I don't think so. And don't you and it's, man, think about it. Like back when, like, oh God, you know, in between Joker and this movie, and you had the whole shakeup of Warner Brothers and everything, and then being acquired by Discovery, and there was that period of time where all of it might have gone to Todd Phillips, but he didn't want it. And they were also talking about them doing like what was it called, DC Black or something, whereas like the Black label would be more of that. Which the one sad thing, the one truly sad thing, other than the movie just being bad, disappointing, is I hope this doesn't discourage Warner Brothers or Marvel Disney or whoever of doing just more standalone comic book fare. It's like, okay, this is not inherently connected to universe. It's just more of its by itself kind of thing. I still think that's a really cool idea. I want more of that stuff, you know, be a little more experimental. I mean, not experimental to this, like have a good fucking idea, obviously. I hope that it might discourage them from doing more standalone films now because of it. So we'll see. I don't know. It's, everything's in an interesting place right now when it comes to a lot of films, and I'm not sure what's going to happen, but it's exciting. It's exciting to cover nonetheless.